So, very good evening to everyone. Today we will start a new chapter called plant growth. And in this chapter, we will learn about the attributes of plant growth. We will learn the different growth regulators of plant which controls plant growth. So, this is a very short and sweet chapter with less complications, and it is chapter number 15 in NCERT. So, as the title of the chapter is plant growth, the first thing we need to know is what is growth, or how we can uh, describe that growth. Now, the thing is that it is a irreversible permanent increase in size of anything. So, these two words, that is irreversible and permanent, is part of it. Now, so many confusions people may have, is growth always irreversible? Consider during lifetime a person uh, like gain some weight, and after lots of dieting and exercise, that person is reducing some weight. So in that case, the person will get back into shape. So can we say कि एक thin person का मोटा होना is a growth? What do you suggest, class?
No, ma'am.
So then what is a growth? In that case also there is increase in size of organ, no? Increase in size of organism also is there. So then why we cannot call it growth? Because that is not normal, that is not ideal. In ideal case, if any person or any plant or any animal is growing, that means that individual or organism is growing from the birth to the adult stage. Okay, adult, not up to the date. Why? From birth to adult, we get into a specific size and shape. If after that I am adding something, I am getting fat, I am getting thin, then it is not termed as a growth. Understood? So obviously, if we can say that growth is increase in number of cell, then obviously for increase in number of cell or increase in number of dry weight, we will be requiring the metabolic process. So there will be increase in number, there will be increase in weight. So obviously both this process will be requiring energy, and for energy we will be requiring the metabolic process. So understood everyone? Growth is a physiological process. These are the chapters which we are studying are part of plant physiology. So what is physiology? What do we mean by the word physiology? Because we completed human physiology also already. So what do we mean by plant physiology? What is the meaning of the word physiology?
And the functioning of the internal organs or
So what organ is involved in growth? physiology, irrespective of plant and animal, means the scientific study of how living things function. In the chapters of human physiology, we talked about respiratory system, digestive system, excretory, circulatory, locomotion, nervous, and endocrine. So we discussed what? How one human being is able to live. What are the processes going on in an organism to make it called living? Same is for plant physiology. It is the scientific study of how living things function. So in this, we are going to study about how plants maintain its water level. That is how plants maintain its osmolarity. Apart from that, we will study about how plants do photosynthesis, respiration, and this chapter we are going to talk about the growth. Is this clear, beta? I guess it is clear. Okay, so now we will move ahead. Associated with growth, there is another word which is very frequently used, that is development. So many a times it is observed that students have confusion about these two words. So what is the definition of development? If you, any one of you can speak about development, what do we mean by development? So development is the series of changes that takes place, okay, during life cycle of a plant. Or rather to say life cycle of an organism, isn't it? So what are these changes we have during life cycle of us, human being? Can anyone suggest? We use a word that this lady grow old. So like, can we say that grow old? Development actually is a part of growth. Okay. Development is a part of growth. Growth is measurable, but we cannot measure the development. We will discuss in detail about difference of growth and development, but currently I want everyone to note down these definitions. I defined physiology, I defined development, and the definition of growth is marked here. You can see it easily. Okay. So should we move ahead? I think we can. Now we will look further into the chapter. So basically, in this chapter, we will talk about plant growth, but we didn't have any chapter like animal growth. So we will definitely consider and compare between both of them. So first point that is applicable to plant growth is indeterminate. That means plants grow throughout their lifetime. We don't grow like that. For us, in case of human being, we grow up to maximum to the age of 18, 19, and then we once we are achieving the youth, we have youth, that youthfulness sustaining for a period, and then we slowly and steadily go for backward direction. We grow old and we die. In case of plants, it is not the case. They are continuously growing throughout their life. So that is what making their lifetime or life period more. You can easily find a plant which is 100-year or 200-year old, which is very rarely possible for human being and impossible for 200 years. So what is the secret behind this kind of indeterminate growth? Apart from that, the secret is meristematic cell. And apart from that, indeterminate means they don't have definite number. You must have seen branches in plant. So in their case, or fruits or flowers, can you say that if one mango tree is having 15 branches, the other one will have 15 only. It cannot have 16 or it cannot have 13. No, it is indeterminate. That part is also not definite in plants, but in human being, if human is having 2 hands, naturally they have 2 hands. They never have 3 hands, 5 hands or 7 hands. Okay, so meristematic tissue is responsible for saying that plants are having capacity to divide and self-perpetuate. That means they can make themselves grow by vegetative means also. Okay, so obviously that's why the growth attributed by meristem is known as open form of growth. This type of form of growth is known as open form of growth. Why it is called open form of growth? Because meristem is always adding new cells in the body. In our case also new cells are formed, but these new cells are just the replacement of the old cells. If in my stomach every day some cells are dying, new cells are formed accordingly to just fill in the gap. If new cells are formed in more amount, that is also problem and we call it cancer. Okay, so this is the point. This is the specialty of plant growth. Now we will talk about primary and secondary growth. So the thing is, grade 11 students must be knowing it very clearly what is primary and what is secondary growth, because in chapter number 6 we studied secondary growth in detail. Grade 12 students know primary growth is the minimum growth required for plant to sustain, and secondary growth mainly is involved in thickening of the plant. So in the early lifetime of each plant, plants have primary growth, and during maturation they have the secondary growth. Okay, so there can be primary growth is generally present in apical part. You know, meristems are of 3 types, that is apical meristem, lateral meristem and intercalary meristem. So apical meristem, that is present at the tip of root and shoot, is responsible for primary growth, and it is responsible to increase the length of plant. Whereas in case of secondary growth is occurring in lateral meristem, which is present at the side of plant and responsible for increase the thickening of the plant. Krishna, you want to say something, beta? Krishna?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to say something, because I saw your hands raised. That's why I'm asking.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So, apart from that, there are vascular cambium, which is present in between the xylem and phloem. And these are called vascular cambium and cord cambium. Cork cambium is present in the outer part of the root and stem, and they are also responsible for increasing the girth, that is the diameter of the stem. So that's why you must have seen at the young stage plants and stems are quite tender, they are flexible, they are green in color. But as they grow old, the woody part of the stem increase, and if you see a tree, for trees it is very difficult to cut, and the outermost part is non-living. That is attributed due to secondary growth of plant. Okay, so now we will look ahead. How to measure the growth. As I already said that out of growth and development, growth is measurable. You can measure it, whereas development cannot be measured. So, can we measure growth? Like really, is there any scale to measure growth? See, there are different simple experiments and instruments by which you can really measure growth. They can be measured as increase in number, that is, if we can count the number of cells, we can see that in case of maize root apical meristem, the rate of growth is 17,500 new cells per hour, which is quite large. In some cases, the cell size is increased, not in number. For example, when a cell is formed after cell division, consider this was a plant cell, and after cell division, two new cells are formed by formation of cell split. Now, this cell number 1 and cell number 2 is quite small, no? But they don't remain small. They have to grow themselves, so that next time when they divide, the new cells will not be further small. So obviously they make themselves grow into a newly good sized plant cells. So this increase in the size of the cell without increase in number is called cell elongation. That is coming under increase of cell size. So obviously, if I had one cell and I got 5 cells out of it, so obviously, or 4 cells out of it, obviously the size of organism will increase. And even if these 4 cells further increase their size, then also size of the total organism will be increased. I guess you understand the number of cell increase and the size of cell increase. Next is increase in the length. At the time of fertilization, this is the part which is called stigma in female reproductive part of flower. So at this part, the pollen grain will get deposited. After that, there is formation of a pollen tube. You can see the pollen tube is marked over here, and this pollen tube elongates. It increases its length and reach up to the egg. So this pollen tube will elongate further. Its size will increase from here to here to here, and it will enter here. So this is example of increase in length. The example is growth of pollen tube. And last but not least, surface area. A very small experiment you can do at your home to see that yes, plants increase their surface area. You take a tender leaf of a plant, put it like don't detach it from the plant, and just give it a support of a graph paper and count roughly the number of boxes occupied by that leaf. And after that, you just let it be there for some time. After 5 to 10 days, you again take a graph paper and measure the area covered by the leaf. You can see that there will be noticeable change observed in case of growth of plant. So obviously the surface area of the plant is increasing due to growth during the process of growth. So this is why, that is why, depending on the condition, we can say that growth is measurable. It can be measured in terms of number, in terms of increase in length, size, surface area, and obviously one thing it's not mentioned here, we can measure growth by looking into the fresh weight or dry weight content. So what is the difference between fresh weight and dry weight? Any grade 12 student can elaborate this point?
Ma'am, fresh weight is due to the presence of water, whereas the dry weight is due to the
Too much background sound is there. Who is this iPhone 30 Pro Max? Kindly rename yourself. And congratulations for having an iPhone. But I want to know who you are. Anyways,
Priyanshi, ma'am.
Priyanshi, change is better. I want to know you by your name, not by your phone's name. So fresh weight means if any organism, as it is, I am taking weight, that's called fresh weight. And second, after it's like obviously by after death, if it is dehydrated and then I am taking weight, that is called dry weight. It is always said dry weight is more appropriate because water is not mentioned there. So after talking about these, I just wish to show you a few instruments which were used to measure the growth. Just for your knowledge, that what are the instruments measured used for measuring the growth. Give me a time so that I can share the screen. Till that time you can have a look into your books, that the portions that we completed. Is there any question? See, I guess all of you can see this instrument present over here. It's called oxonometer. So very simple concept it is following. So this is the plant. At the tip of this plant, one thread is there, and this thread is extended and attached to the weight. Now, what happens is, consider this is the initial height of the plant. As this plant is increasing in its length, the weight will go down. And as this weight will go down, this pointer will move from this point to this point. And this is the difference in increase in height. So this is called oxanometer, and with which you can definitely and very easily measure the growth of plants. So we will again get back into the discussion, and now we are going to talk about the phases of growth. So just because I don't want you to get confused, I will repeat that we studied the definition of growth and development. We saw the attributes of growth. We studied about the speciality of plant growth. And now we are talking about phases of growth. So during this phase, first phase is the meristematic phase, which is occurring in the meristematic region, that is root or tip or shoot tip. We call it root apex or shoot apex. Here the cells are actively dividing. They actively divide to produce more number of cells, and they are having prominent cytoplasm or protoplasm and very large and prominent nuclei. As they are continuously developing and increasing in number by cell division, so the cell walls do not have time to form secondary and tertiary cell wall. So that's why cell walls as compared with the matured cells are quite thin, because there is only presence of primary cell wall, which is formed just after the cell division, and they are made up of cellulose. And all obviously, as cells are continuously dividing, they need to have good communication between them, so they have high number of plasmodesmata, which is known as cell path. After meristematic phase, there is elongation phase. Now once we reach to the maximum number, it is occurring just in the region which is just near the tip. That means if this A and B is the tip, C and D part will have the elongation phase, because C and D was once upon a time in the tip. Now new cells are occurring in A and B, so C and D will be going to the elongation phase. So this will have now time to get matured. So before final maturation, they will have increase in number of vacuoles, increase in size of vacuoles, and their the cell wall deposition is there. So primary cell wall will be getting converted into secondary and tertiary. In matured cell phase of cells, if you look, so you can see that the cells are having maximum size and very thick cell wall, very less amount of cytoplasm, very large vacuole. So if anyone asks you this question, that how can you differentiate between normal plant cell which is young, you can say the cell wall will be very thin, it will have a prominent nucleus, and the cell will be full of cytoplasm. It will be full of cytoplasm. So this is the characteristics of new cell. Whereas if I talk about cell which is having like matured thing, it is having a very thick cell wall, and the nucleus will be hanged at the center, and it is hanged via the threads of cytoplasm, and like this, and the most of the place is occupied by, this will be vacuole. So this is the new cell, this is the old cell. So I want everyone to take a note of this, that this is how you can, by looking into the cell, you can clearly identify if this cell is the new one or the old one. So obviously, as we discussed that growth is measurable, so we can definitely measure the growth, and the growth rate can be measured by arithmetic. Growth rate can be either arithmetic or geometrical. So arithmetic growth rate means from one cell there is production of two cells. From out of these two cells, one will divide to produce one. Okay, other one is not dividing. And then we will have 3. From these 3, we will have 4. So it is always increasing by number of 1. So 2, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 5, 6. It is increasing by plus 1. Whereas in case of geometric growth rate, it is always increasing to the power. That means from 1 to 2, 2 to not 3, 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 16. So it is always multiplied by 2, not plus 1. It is coming in terms of multiplication. So all of you must be knowing about the story of invention of chess, that a person, grade 12 students, I told you about this story, no? Story of invention of chess. So in case of story of invention of chess, the same thing is there, that a person came to King's Court and asked about that I invented a game which is quite entertaining. So the ruler was very much proud and said that I can give you anything. So he said, no, no, just give me this much. So ruler was saying, "Are isme kya hai? I can give you whatever you want to." So then he said, you put one grain on the first box of the chess. In the second box, you put exactly double. So the person said, okay, if I put one coin or grain in the first box, second box double, how does it will be matter? But it was then going in geometric progression, and the amount of wealth that was coming was too high. And the king was about to lose his kingdom. So he begged, and the discoverer said, okay, no problem, but next time onwards, you don't be proud. So we will first know about the arithmetic growth. In this case, one daughter cell is responsible to give 2 and 2 to 3 like this. So if we put if we make a graph of this type of growth, you can see in x-axis if we have time, and in y-axis if we have height of plant, we will get a straight line like this. And mathematically, this straight line can be expressed as LT is equal to L0 plus RT. So what is this LT? LT is length at time t. Consider L0 is the growth now. So now means time will be 0 time. We will consider T0 as 0 time. After 2 hours, time will be T. Okay. At that time, after 2 hours, the LT will be the growth after 2 hours. So this LT, whatever may be the time, this can be 2 hours or 2 years, or in case of lower organism, 2 minutes is enough. So L0 plus R multiplied by T. T is the time, that after how much time you are measuring the growth. So is known as the LT. So we can easily calculate LT by using this formula L0 plus R into T. So what is R? R varies from organism to organism. R is the growth rate or elongation per unit time. That means per minute or per hour, what is the growth rate? So it is quite normal, and this can be understood and remembered very easily. If I say a plant is having a height of 10 centimeter now, and I want to see it after 15 days. So 10 centimeter is my L0, and 15 days my T, and growth rate is R is 0.5 centimeter per day. So obviously I can easily find the LT by using this details, as LT is equal to L0 plus R multiplied by T, that is L0 is 10 plus R is 0.5 and number of day is 15. So this value will come as, what will be the value? How many centimeter? Class, you people can hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
So what will be the value of LT? Very simple. What is taking for you people long, so much time? Why it is taking? अरे ये कैलकुलेट नहीं कर पा रहे हो 10 plus 0.5.
17.5.
So for what you people are waiting? So it will be the
Ma'am, there was background noise.
okay. Acha, no problem. So can one of you go and talk to sir that there is too much background noise and we cannot like study, because I know it's a problem.
No, ma'am, now the voice is gone.
Okay. So this is what is the concept of arithmetic growth, and it is very easy to understand. Now we will look into the geometric growth. So in geometric growth, there is a sigmoid curve. So this curve is called sigmoid because its shape is S. So I just want to give example. Grade 12 students already studied this in ecosystem chapter, ecology chapters, that this curve is having lag phase, exponential phase and stationary phase. See, whenever we are thrown into a new environment or new condition, we definitely require some time to get ourselves adjusted into that condition. Okay, so that is known as that phase when growth is not that high, we are accommodating ourselves to that specific situation. We call it as a lag phase. So that is known a lag phase. And after that, once we are habituated or adjusted, then we have a peak in the growth or increase in the growth, that is known as exponential phase. So this lag phase is the phase we require this up to this phase, we are adjusting ourselves to the new condition. Then there will be very high growth rate, which is like indicated by steep rise. And after some time, once the maximum growth rate is achieved, in biological system, there is a limitation. We cannot keep on going. Obviously, limit is there with respect to the available resources, with respect to the ability or limitation of our body. And then once the growth is reaching to its maximum level, there is not possible further increase in the level, and we have stationary phase, which is indicated again by a straight line. So this phase is stationary phase, this phase is exponential phase, and this phase is called lag phase. It is also known as lag phase, log phase, because we have logarithmic growth or geometrical growth during that time. So that's why it is called lag phase, log phase, and this is called stationary phase. So we will look into the equation of this geometric growth. So this is the equation. As I said that when I'm talking about geometric growth, it is not plus, it will come into in terms of into. So here it is coming like this, that W1, if I'm taking it in terms of weight, that is W1 is the final size or final weight or final height or final number, is equal to W0, that is initial size or number or weight, whatever we are measuring, is equal to e to the power RT. So what is this? E is the base of natural logarithm. R is the growth rate and the time of growth is indicated by T. So you know how to calculate this using log table. So you can calculate by taking any number, and you can definitely solve these questions also. So there are two ways of quantitative comparison of growth rate. One is by absolute growth rate method. Here, when we are talking about growth rate, that is R in case of geometrical growth rate, we measure the total growth rate per unit time. Okay. And when I'm talking about relative growth rate, so it is also expressed in time, but at that time we are going to consider the common basis of the growth, that is per unit with comparison with the initial parameter, that initially this was, finally this was, so for final this is the way. So this can be absolute growth rate, can be measured in terms of integration, and relative growth rate can be measured by normal algebraic formula. So any doubts regarding growth rate? If any, you can ask me definitely. So as you confirm that no doubt is there till now, we will move ahead and look into the conditions which is ensuring that growth is there. Obviously, in our first slide, we discussed that growth is supported by energy, and this energy, or if there is increase in number of cell, obviously we will be requiring raw material, because new cell cannot be built from air. We will be requiring raw material to build new organelle and new cells. And for that, we require lots of reactions. So there are plant growth regulators which are controlling this process. But apart from that, we need to know what are the ideal conditions of plant growth. Okay. So the conditions or the parameter, or we can call them the necessity of growth, we will talk about them. Obviously, as another name of water is life, so first condition or element is water. We know that in our cells 70 to 60% is water. So obviously, if number of cell is increasing, we will be requiring water. So they are required for cell enlargement, and they will be responsible, especially in plant, to maintain the turgidity. You know, the shape of guard cell is maintained by presence of water. And if guard cells are turgid, then only stomata will be open. So apart from that, water is very important for making the cells metabolically active. Let me give you an example with which you will understand this condition very easily. Try and plant a dry chana into soil. Do not put any water. Try if it will germinate or not. आपको पता है मार्केट से हम चना खरीदते हैं ड्राई वाला, उसको अगर 2 महीने भी आप डब्बे में रख दो खराब नहीं होता है. बट इफ यू पुट वाटर इनटू इट, it will swell, then there will be root coming out of it. You put it one day outside fridge, that will get spoiled. Why? Because water is making the enzymes present in plant cells to act. It will promote the germination of the seed. Similarly, it is giving opportunity for external microbes to work upon them and spoil them. So obviously the reactions are starting when water is there, and that's why water is very essential for growth. Second is oxygen. Obviously, cells require oxygen to release metabolic energy by respiration. Without that, we cannot even imagine that there will be possible growth. Then there will be nutrients. Cells are increasing their number. So obviously, nutrients are very important. You must be knowing that plants are having macro and micronutrients. Macronutrients are carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, hydrogen, and they are required in high amount. And there are elements which are not required in very high amount, like copper, nickel, molybdenum. They are required in very less amount, but they are also required. We call them micro elements. So obviously, as they are the building blocks, so we require them. Now I wish to tell you a very important thing, that is C and N ratio. See, the kind of nutrients plants are getting, are finally making the carbohydrate, proteins, and amino acids and fats in plants, obviously. But the C and N ratio is very important. C and N ratio means ratio of carbohydrates divided by ratio of nitrogenous compound. So this nitrogenous compound will include protein, it will include nucleic acids. So they will obviously regulate the C, and it will regulate a specific pattern of growth. Okay. So what is this specific pattern of growth? Let me give you an example. If in any case plant is having more nitrogenous compound. So if in any plant the nitrogenous compound is more, in that case, is there any problem? So they will produce more protoplasm, they will produce less mechanical tissue, and they will produce vigorous vegetative growth. So vegetative growth will be that means branching of the plants will be more, the size of the plant will increase. All these things will occur if the kind of nutrient is more. Okay, and apart from that, in this case the shoot will be larger than root. And leaves will be quite big. So if a plant is having condition of this, the condition, these are the things which is reflected. But if you have more carbohydrates, many a times, if more nitrogenous compounds are there, then in that case, the plants are having very large leaf, it is correct. But these leaves are quite soft, succulent, and they are dark green in color also. So I wish to mention about that also. Big leaf which are dark green. Whereas if we are talking about carbohydrates, there will be more wall material. And there will be less protoplasm. And there will be very important thing is more mechanical tissue. So what do you suggest? Which one should be more? Carbohydrate and nitrogenous things. Out of these, both of them are equally important, because um, in, if we are having more protoplasm without mechanical tissue, that is not good for plant, and only mechanical tissue without protoplasm is also not good for plant. So this I wish to mention about this C and N ratio. I guess everyone understood it. We will look ahead into next parameter, that is temperature. So plants always require an optimum temperature for its growth. And obviously, if it is deviating 1 or 2 degrees, doesn't matter. But if it is deviating much, it is problematic. And plants are having their own, like what I can say, choice of temperature. Some plants like coniferous plants and others, they grow very comfortably in very low temperature. Desert plants grow very comfortably in desert conditions, but all plants cannot withstand that. So obviously there is specific temperature required for specific type of plants. Now I wish to talk here about one terminology, that is a term which may be new to you, but you should know about it, that is called thermoperiodicity. So what do we mean by the word thermoperiodicity? So it is periodic fluctuation of temperature influencing growth and metabolism. So it is very important for some plants to start their growth in a season when temperature is not that low, and then they get best for they are harvested in the winter season. So for different stage of life cycle of those plants, they require different temperature, and that's why they choose those specific season or seasonal transition time for their growth, and that is very importantly observed in some plants. So next important factor is light and gravity. Obviously, light is very important for plants, because they produce their foods in presence of light. So obviously, without light, they cannot by any means produce their food, and they cannot have growth unless and until food is there. Here also, I like I wish to talk about a few terminology. First of them is etiolation. So what do we mean by this word etiolation? So it is the phenomenon exhibited by green plants to or rather to say when grown in complete darkness. So that is called etiolation. Now, you must be having one question in your mind कि मैम कैसे possible है कि plant को हम darkness में grow कर रहे हैं? Obviously, it cannot be grown for a very long time because up to the time it is having the storage food material available, it can manage. After that, obviously, it will die without light. But during that time when it is managing with the storage food material, what are the changes in that specific plant observed, that we are going to see as a effect of etiolation. So let us see the effects of etiolation. First of all, those plants which are growing in etiolated condition will have elongated hypocotyle. So you must be having problem. What is this hypocotyle? Hypocotyle is class sound level. So hypocotyle is the part which is very much produced from the radicle. That is the part responsible for generating root. So in embryo, from the radical part, the part which is produced is called hypocotyle. It is elongated. That means it will have very long size. Then the cotyledons do not expand. Apart from that, the vascular element will be poorly developed. Okay, and whereas if we are talking about light grown children, they are sturdy, they are green in color, and they are quite more healthy. So obviously, this etiolation is something which is not preferred. It is not preferred to have etiolation, and that is why light is very, very important. So I guess this part is clear. We will move ahead. And now I wish to talk about another factor of light or another importance of light in the growth of plant, that is photomorphogenesis. So this is also a new word you are learning after etiolation, that is called photomorphogenesis. So what is this photomorphogenesis? It is control of growth and differentiation. By light. So the thing is, we are talking about different phases, meristematic phases, elongation phases, all these phases. Do they require like light? Yes. For the growth of seedling, if it is a epigeial plant, then for the seed germination, for differentiation of different tissues, because embryo is an undifferentiated, all cells of embryos are same, but to make it differentiated into root, shoot, leaf, fruit, flower, water is very much required. Last but not least, I wish to talk about gravity. And gravity is obviously very, very important, because you know that geotropism of root is there, and growth of root is always towards the land apart from a few exceptions. So this is the way gravity is really very, very important for plants to grow. So after this, we will see into a very important concept. So I wish to drag all of your attention here. So this concept is about differentiation, de-differentiation, and re-differentiation. So differentiation is a process in which the cells of the plants will divide to form different types of cell. For example, it's a meristematic cell which is having a specific shape, size, and structure. Now, during differentiation process, this meristematic cell will be transformed into root cell. It will be transformed into leaf cell. Some of it is transformed to form sieve cell. So they will be forming different types of tissue from a single type of cell. This process is called uh, differentiation. When it is occurring, obviously after the cell division is done. So once cell is differentiated, they generally lose their ability to divide. We call them, they are now matured, and they are then converted into permanent tissue. They will be no longer part of meristematic tissue. And differentiated cells will have trachea, tracheids. They will have lignocellular secondary cell walls. They have to have ability to withstand maximum stress and strain, and that is how they are getting mature. Now, the only thing that is possible in case of plant, because plants are totipotent, is to have a de-differentiation. That means with the impact of hormone, they can once again have their ability to get undifferentiated. That means for them, this back pathway is possible. They can go back. So this sieve cell can again go back to the meristematic cell. And this going back process is called redifferentiation. So de-differentiation is the process where the differentiated cell will be again one undifferentiated cell. So now grade 11 students can understand that interfascicular cambium, cord cambium, they form differentiated parenchyma cell. So this is example of de-differentiation. And if you are going for tissue culture, callus culture formation is an example of de-differentiation, where from leaf, which is a differentiated part, you can get back callus, which is an undifferentiated part. Now there is a third term which is called redifferentiation. In this case, the differentiated part which was de-differentiated can be again differentiated. So it is called redifferentiation. I wish to share with you a flow chart where you can understand this in a better way. Give me some time to share the screen. So you can see very well the condition here. In this case, the meristematic cell, which is undifferentiated cell, will go for differentiation. So this cell which was undifferentiated means all cells of this is same, will go for differentiation to form permanent cell. So this is differentiated. Now it will go again to meristematic cell, and during redifferentiation it will again go back to permanent cell. So this is possible only in case of plants, and that's why we always speak that plants are totipotent. So I just wish to talk about this concept of totipotent, pluripotent, multipotent, and unipotent. So unipotent are cell which can produce only one type of cell, like our body cells. Any body cell, for example, skin cell will produce skin cell only. It cannot produce any other type of cell. So such type of cells are called unipotent. In case of multipotent, there are cells which can produce many type of cell. We all know, we studied about the production process of blood cells. It is multipotent cell where a single cell can produce many types of cell. Next cell is pluripotent cell. Here one type of cell can produce uh, all cells and tissues, that is building organisms. Like cancer cells is able to do this. So basically multipotent and pluripotent are similar, and totipotent is the natural condition where single type of cell can produce all type of cell. Like if I take a leaf tissue from plant and I want to prepare a root, fruit, flower, stem, anything I can prepare from it. That is what is the totipotency. So after this, we are going to study the plant growth regulation, and we will know about the plant growth regulator. So as I mentioned that we will study about the plant growth regulators, and a small part of growth chapter of plant is left, that is talking about the photoperiodism, vernalism, and flowering. We will talk about it in our next lecture. So bye for now. Bye to all of you.